How are you going, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. This is JetSimmer here, and we're going to be doing a quick video on how to start the T1. I've now gone over a few things. Now, you can actually find the documentation in the aircraft file in your community folder. So if you go in your community folder and put that stuff in there, that will help. All right. Well, hopefully it should help anyways. But anyways, you could also have your checklist inside the game as well that you can follow along by. But I'm just going to use a real quick one in the initial checks because the one in game is a little bit longer than the one that's in the documentation. So you really don't need a lot of things. So without further ado, let's jump on in to the aircraft. Now there is one thing that you really have to do straight away. Before you even think about starting in the aircraft, you need to come back into the back seat. So you can either like move your camera or go into the camera options here and go pilot and go to co-pilot, or you can go set a keybind, which I set to come back in. So there's a few things that you need. The main two is, let's get that track IR, stop moving. The main two you need is the start needs to be in the on position, and your anti-skid needs to be forward. And if you have flown in the back in previous flights, you also want to make sure that you select pupil on the flaps. So unless you're flying in the back seat, you only need those two seats, and that needs to be always on pupil. And yeah, turn the oxygen on for your instructor, otherwise they might run out of oxygen there. So there's oxygen just here. You don't actually have to, since there is no one in this back seat on my aircraft. I'm going to turn it off. But anyways, so once you've done those two switches, you can jump on in the front and have a look. Now when I go here and just refill that oxygen, maybe I'll stop the, there you go, oxygen's refill for the flight. That's how you refill your oxygen if you're worried. Okay. So I'm just going to go here and just double check that we've got the fuel that we're going to be taking today, and the pilot, that is not 2,000 kilos, not that heavy. Yeah, so that's the weight and balance taken care of on this aircraft. So without further ado, we've got a few things. So I'm just going to go ahead and center the thing. I'm not going to worry about track IR. So the first thing is we need to make sure the gear selector is down. Now this doesn't have a gear handle, it has a gear selector. Okay, so you've got to make sure that the button is pushed in, gear selector down, battery switches are in the off position, MCP coolant is in the off position. Now if we have a look here, you probably find that this is also in the checklists. So you have the front and you have the rear checklist. Now if you have a look at all of these other ones, WCP, mass, all of that sort of stuff, that will be probably referring to the aircraft that has weapons. Alright, so if I just quickly go and find where it is. Yeah, I have a feeling it's all about the armament sort of stuff. Yeah, MCP is your missile control panel. So when you come to doing the, if we go to the photos, front, we have the, yeah, alright. Yeah, so that's what that is. So you won't need to worry too much about the MCP coolant when it comes to this startup, unless you're using the combat variant. So we're not going to really worry too much about that now. I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down. What the heck is going on with my Windows right now? Jeez Louise. Go right back to the top and scroll down to there again. Alrighty, I'm back on track now. Okay, so MCP coolant, you don't need to worry about the MCP coolant, you don't need to worry about the MCP. Mass you don't need to worry about, and the Asus site you don't need to worry about, as we don't have those things installed. Now, if you are worried about where they are, let's get rid of that. Alright, something's gone fishy on with my pilot settings. Sorry, let me just fix those up. Alrighty, there we go. I don't know how that got wiped. Okay, so those will show up in here. So if we swap over the aircraft to the combat, you'll have your coolant switches there. MCP coolant there is off or tested. You'll have your weapon control panel and all of that stuff over here. So if you don't need, if you're not using this particular aircraft, I suggest you just skip that stuff. Alright, so we're just in configure 1, so you don't need those. Right, so the next one, stick top on safe. So that's your safe switch, so you want to make sure that it's on safe. That'd be like for your weapons and all that sort of stuff. I would say there's a safe switch on this side too, somewhere, possibly, maybe. Anyways, so you want to make sure that is safe. Alright, so the next one, oxygen, we have oxygen, yep. And the selector is on for us. Okay, that's the oxygen selector. And we wanted to make sure that we have oxygen. Okay, cool. Alrighty, so in the rear, so this is where we come into the rear now. We wanted to make sure that the engine was on, yes. The tailplane cover, it was down, so we'll jump in the back. Okay, so we want to make sure the engine's on, the tailplane is covered, anti-skid was on, the UHF, here it is. The standby UHF is on main, which is there. And the landing gear down and red button. So the red button was pushed in. So if you play around with the one in here, make sure you push the red button. So the front seat will take over. Then you'll have pupil. And again, weapon switch override, normal. Now I don't have the weapons on again, so you don't need to worry about that, but if you do, you want to find that. The stick is safe, which it is, there it is. And lighting switches are all off when the down position, so it's going to do that. And the oxygen on and checked. Now again, we aren't having a pilot in the back. Now to make sure that there's no pilot in the back when we do anything, so we're going to just jump forward. And you just disable the rear pilot, and then you're flying solo, okay? Alrighty, so strap-in checks. You want to make sure that the rudder lock. So if you can't select your rudder, it's probably because you have the rudder lock. So make sure the rudder lock is off, okay? So the strap-in checks. So rudder pedals, lock off. Battery switches, each gives 23 minimums, then both. Okay, so let's have a look at the battery. So the battery is just down here. So turn battery 1 on. Both batteries do it, and then both batteries on. Turn that annoying alarm off. Done. Alright, so the next after that is external lights as required. Let's turn our nav lights on, which is over here. So nav lights on. So the nav lights are now on. we can go ahead and turn these panel lights off. Oh, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. Turn those on. We don't need them just yet, but that's okay. Alrighty, so that's all the lights sorted. Now you want the LP cock, which is your fuel handle. That should be in the off position. I didn't turn it off. But push it down, and that will turn the fuel on. Engine start switch is still in the off position. Fuel pump on. And next is the pitot heat, which is this switch here, if you need to find the pitot heat. I have a keybind, I believe, for it. Yeah, make sure that's off. And I actually have a keybind for the fuel. Turn that on. Okay, cool. Make sure your tailplane trim is down. I'm not 100% sure. I have a feeling the tailplane trim is the whole thing. Like, so the whole elevator is the tailplane. So if you have a look, it is the whole empennage there. So basically the whole thing. So that's what that's for. I have a feeling. Ignition switch is in the normal position. So the ignition, I'm not 100% sure where the ignition is. I have a feeling. Mute, normal, PT. Don't know. Throttle full in 3 of movement and HBO. You want to click that forward and all the way forward and all the way back. So you got full 3 movement and then click it off. Okay. Any skid is selected to the off position. Standby in UHF is on on manual, and brake pressure is selected. Okay, so check the pressures. We don't have any pressures in the brakes at all because I think the brakes are off at the moment. So you can go ahead and turn the brakes on. So let's just do that right now. Brakes are on, and we have brake pressure gauge right there. So I don't know what's going on. He's flickering around. Oh, there he goes. He's doing something funky, isn't he? There we go. Alright, so we now have full brake pressure in the aircraft. Now I actually, in the shutdown procedures, you actually have the brake off once you completed everything. So, anyways, left instrument panel. So the UC is not pulled, so it shouldn't be pulled, and the flap standby is not pulled. So that's what the not pulled sign is, and that's it. The landing light is 3 green. The voltage with both batteries on is between 23 and 24. The flap selector is up and it matches the position, the indicated position. UHF is, that should be off, but we're going to select on for both, or set as required. You can have manual or both. I'm going to set both. I'm going to set the guard for this one, just for the sake of it. The weapon select switch, we don't have that. Pylon select switch, we don't have that in this aircraft. But they all have to be off, and the weapon CP bus bar indicators are off, which we don't, again, have that. The WCP roll indicator is white, we don't have that. Bomb fuse and gun selector. Don't need any of those. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next one, the DG flag retracted. So over here is your DG. I want to make sure that we have no flag on the DG there. The next is the turn slit indicator, window black. So the turn slit indicator, they're talking about this little tiny square window in here, which is not showing any flag or anything like that. Accelerometer is your G meter. So if I just zoom out like that, we have a look in here. So this is your G's here. So we just push that to reset that. Okay. All right. So your next thing after that is your main attitude indicator, which is the flag showing, and your HSI flag showing. That's these little red and black strips here, and the yellow one for the HSI. The AHRS control unit, or the slave, so all those control units are down here. So by rights, in the aircraft, you should have them completely turned off. Alright. But we want to make sure that the slave and latitude is set. So we're going to hit slave. Now the latitude is your latitude in relation to where the aircraft is. Now I guess you could just Google it. I googled Perth being, so if I move my mouse around just a bit, I googled Earth being around about latitude 31 degrees. So that is probably about right. So yeah, I'm in Perth. I think latitude is 31 degrees. That's what Google says. So I'm hoping that's correct. So that's how you do that. Okay. So the next part is the IS control unit is off. Now I believe because we don't have the sight, we don't need to worry about that. If you had the sight, you'd have to figure that out. The IS marker test, ILS marker test is right there. So we're just doing a real quick test and it is all functioning. The next is the UHF power switch. Make sure that is in normal mode. Main altimeter, flag showing, standby attitude, erect, flag retracted. Okay. Making sure that they're all good. Standby instrument switches set to normal. Standby instrument switches are here, up the top. Okay, cool. Now we move over to the right hand side. Oxygen, so the oxygen caption is out, so on your early warning or your warning lights display, oxygen is out, and the contents is over half, which we're at full anyway. Confirmed fuel, the flow, which it is, it's flowing. Fuel gauges contain, we're pretty good on the fuel there. We might actually take a little bit more fuel. I'm a little bit paranoid. This aircraft does not like, yeah, we've got a bit more fuel now. Alright. This aircraft does like chewing up fuel. pretty much. I did hear some of these aircraft come back with 200 litres aboard and that's it, or 200 kilos left. And yeah, they're running on fumes. But yeah. So the next one's fuel gauge done. Rotation indicator and the GTS indicator are out. Not too sure what the rotation indicator is. I'll have to read up on it. But the GTS is the gas turbine system, which is similar to like an APU to start the aircraft. So we'll go over that in a minute. CWP, so that is what I was referring to here. This is your CWP, your portion. Let me grab that. Hang on a second. WP. I think I just closed that. Hang on a second, I'll grab that back in just a second. I believe I did that. So annoying. Nope. There we go. Alright, so the CWP is the central warning panel. Sorry about that. I just wanted to find it, make sure I had the correct information. Alright, so central warning panel is all these lovely things that you can see right here. So we're just double checking that. Let me grab where I was back up to. So we want to test the hydraulics, hydraulic 1, AC, and all that remain on. So we hit the test. Lovelies. Turn that off. And we want to make sure that the hydraulics, hydraulic 1s, hydraulic 2s, the FPR, that's the F.PR or the FPR. It looks like there's a dot there. That's actually your fuel, your fuel pump. Okay. So that's your fuel pump, AC, AC1, AC2, and oil, or AC3. So you don't want any of these other ones turned on. Okay. You just want those remained on. Lighting switches as required. Now we've already done those things. Right. You can buy now, technically, if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and turn on the. So we've got the nav lights because there's power to the aircraft. We can also turn the anti-collision lights down to the red position. We have a look outside the aircraft. You'll see that we have the top and the bottom of the anti-collision lights there going. All right. So now we move on to the dimmers. So you have your dimmers there. So your panel lights and all that sort of stuff if you're going to be using those. The CCS, as required, PPT. So we're going to turn on the VHF and the UHF. We're also going to swap the main over to UHF. We're going to check to make sure that PT is in the PTT is in the normal position, which is that switch there, and your CCS as required, which I think is in the normal position just over here. So VHF on. I just use the UHF. The cabin conditioning is normal. Yeah, that's that there. Okay, the red one. The cabin air temperature is set to auto. Where's that? Oh, down here. We're going to select normal, auto. That's right. My bad. ADR, status indicator fail, which is over here. Then the IFF is on standby. So we can go, the IFF is on standby there, which it is. The ILS as required. If you want to turn your ILS on, it is here, or VOR. So we don't need ILS just at the moment. TACAN as required. So now TACAN can work in many ways. Okay, so your TACAN check, or your TACAN list is in the game. So the channel represents the number. Okay, so I've got it set on 21. So if we see what 21 is, I have it set for 108.4. As you can see, I've got it in the X-ray position. Now the X-ray is on the left and the Yankee is on the right. So if I wanted to swap it over to the other TACAN, the 10845. So these will be on the 5s and they will be on the 10s, if that makes sense. Okay. So if you want the 5s, you're on the Yankee. If you want the 10s, you're on the left. Okay. So basically the exact same thing will be down here. So if we're using a VOR, so 108.4, I believe it is. Yeah. So 108.4. So if you have a look really closely, there's actually already a 1 there. So you only have to change the 0 to the last 4 digits. And there's a decimal in between the 8 and the 4. So yeah, it's always going to be 1 and then the rest of the numbers. But yeah, TACAN 21 and now the VOR 21. So that's how you set those up. That's how you set your TACANs up. Now, if you've got your TACANs on, you just go TXRX as required. Radios test as required. So if you want to test your radios, you can come to there, self-test mode. So we're going to set the self-test mode for the radios and the canopy closed and ready to think. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go back into here. We close the canopy in 2 different directions, so you can close it via this little button here, or you can close it down here on the tablet. You can actually have the tablet up here as well, but I have it on my lap because it covers up quite a few other instruments. Another one you can turn on is your VHF to TR plus ground, or TR plus guard, not ground, sorry. TR plus ground. Transmit, receive plus guard, and that is your guard over here. Oopsies. All right, we also have to lock the cockpit there. Let's get rid of the chocks and steps and the flags. Alrighty, so the next part is engine. Warning, do not move the throttle into throttle to idle before rotation. Indicator shows green. Okay, pre-start. Engine start switch on. Okay. So engine start switch on. engine start switch on, anti-collision lights as required, which we already have those on. Now we relight the button. So we press the relight button when GTS start and release, engine start, throttle, idle. Okay, so we hit this little white thing right here on your throttle, and you should hear the engine start to spoil up. Now you probably won't hear it unless we go outside. The reasons being is I've got the headphone simulations on, because this aircraft is slightly loud. So yeah, I've got headphone simulations turned on. So basically we're just waiting for the GTS to green light up. Okay, once the GTS is green lit, so basically we can move to starting the aircraft completely. We can go to the engine start switch, go start and release, and then we want to watch the RPM get about to 15 to 20%, and then we're going to move the throttle forward into idle. Okay, so let's do that just now. Alrighty, so it's moving up forward. And there it is. Move the throttle forward. We're up to 20%, and it's starting to really spool up now. You can actually start hearing it. Turbine's kicked in. GTS should cut out at around I think it's about 40 to 50%. Alright, so during the test, during startup, you want to monitor if it exceeds 560 degrees, 570 degrees Celsius. The GTS is now cut out, rotation's cut out. The attitude indicator is erecting itself. Set the throttle, HP off if it does exceed. Okay, so we're only at 350-ish, 325, that's okay. At 45% RPM, the GTS and all that, so yeah, about 45 to 50. The GTS will cut out, which it did. When RPM stabilizes, fire warnings out. RPM approximately 52%, which it looks like it's at 52% there. Actually, it looks a little higher than 52%, doesn't it? Approximately 52%, that's what they say. Oil, FPR, and trans captions out, which they are all out there. Pretty much all of them, except for the hydraulics and the skid are out. Then reset pressure to normal. So to reset the hydraulic pressure, come over here, and you'll see that the hydraulic pressure is like out down here. So we just hit the reset button, and it comes back to normal. Electronics and gen captions out. Press if necessary. 27 and 29 volts. Okay, so everything there, and then we have a look over here. We have between 27 and 29 volts, and CW. And once we do, and then yeah, everything out except the skid. Okay. After start checks, set the trims to neutral. Now, this got me as well. We'll close that so I don't actually hit it. This pretty much got me. So you've got your trims down here, your rudder trim and your elevator trim. I believe there's some trims here on your stick. But where is the indicator? Well, the actual indicator is your tailplane right here. So we're going to make sure that we set... Now, I'm going to have to change some keybinds around because that's really annoying me at the moment. But that is your tailplane trim setting right there. Now we want to set it to neutral, which is the 0 area just there. Okay, so that's set to normal. The pitot heat can go on now. All right, so we'll just come down to here and make sure that the pitot heat goes on, which it does. So pitot heat is now on. Flat selected to mid. Now what I do is I rotate them through their positioning. So you'll see the flaps go down. So that's half. Go down, make sure they fully go down, and then make sure they go up, and the indicator stays in the right position. Okay. Right, that's all that. Flight controls free and correct. They're pretty much going to be correct for me because it's just sitting on the table. It's not in getting impeded. But if you had your cockpit set up and it was between your legs, you want to make sure that you got free movement and all that sort of stuff. So you got full free movement, hydraulic pressures within limits. I don't know what is really within limits in the simulator, but that's it. I don't know what's going on with this bus bar here. Something's playing up with the brakes just there. Alrighty. Next thing, oxygen hydraulics are within. Let's check the contents and flows. So we're still at full. We've still got a full flow. Canopy is down and locked, which we did earlier before anyway. And instruments, altimeters, test, set QFE. So we're going to go ahead and just press and hold B, and we'll set that right there. So we just set our altimeters. For that, warning flags are all clear. We've got no warning flags or anything like that, and there's no warning flags outside the aircraft. None whatsoever. She's loud outside. Absolutely loud. Alrighty, after that, we want to make sure that the attitudes are all erect and a compass sync. So what they mean by compass sync, so you'll notice that if I was to realign, this DG is your directional indicator. Now, if I was to realign that, you just go sync, and basically it syncs everything up and all that. And I have the DG select to slave, which means hopefully everything should stay normal for the flight. If not, you can just sync that button and off you go. After that, we can set the DG. Now, I'm just going to pick a runway randomly. What runways do we have at Earth? It's been a while. I haven't even looked at it. World map. Let's go. Flow routes. F-base Pierce. YPEA. YPEA. We're going to probably be taking off. I'm not 100% sure what runways are ready for takeoff. So we'll just have a look and see what we got, man. I have a feeling. Really depends on the runways, doesn't it? Come on, Navigraph, hurry up. Oh, that's harsh. Hurry up, thank you. Taking its time. Might have to hang on with me. Can't remember the runways. Still my head in. There we go. Frick. Navigraph does not like you working with charts if you're not going from the flat. Anyways, so 18 and 35, 36 right or left or whatever like that. So quite a few different airfields for you to pick from, or airstrips. So it looks like we're going to be on 18s for this particular flight. I'm hoping, give or take. It could be 23 actually. Probably be 23, having a look at how we're taken off from there. So if that's the case, 23. There's only one ILS. So 226 is the. So for that, we can select the DG to all the way around to 226 now. I'm just going to use the in-game one because it's so much faster. So there we go. 226, that's the runway heading. We may as well bug the heading for that as well. And there we go. All right. Now the TACAN at this particular airport is 75 at 122.8. All right. So if we just go over here to here and we go 75, TACAN's on. You should see the TACAN start to move over. So we have 0.5 of a mile to run at 226 for the TACAN. All right, so I hope that helps on that part there. I'll be doing more tutorials on certain things. Alrighty, so that's all done. The IFF test is complete. The ADR is black, so you remember that we had it over here on fail before. Alright, the next, so we've tested the TACAN, the ILS is required. We're not going to be using an ILS today. TACAN's done, ISS required, and all of that. Okay, so basically the aircraft is ready to get out and start flying. So thank you very much, guys, and this was a little bit of a longer tutorial for this aircraft. But yeah, thank you very much, and I hope that helped. And until next time, yeah, we'll do a takeoff tutorial and go through the aircraft systems and all sorts of different things. All right, see you soon, guys. Bye.